What is up, everyone? We are here talking about UFC 327, Carlos Ulberg versus Jiri Prochazka. This is a fantastic card, and I cannot wait for it. This is going to be awesome. It's going to be fireworks through and through, and I'm going to go through and predict every single fight on the card, starting off with Charles Radke versus Francisco Prado. So Prado, he's looked okay, if I'm keeping it real. He's on I think a 2 or 3 fight losing streak. He's coming up to welterweight, and I don't know, man. I just kind of question his advancements and kind of his ceiling that he's going to hit in the UFC versus someone like Charles Radke. Now, I got to keep it real. I got kind of beef with Charles Radke. He lost me a crap ton of money. Not a crap ton of money, but he lost me a bit of money on the JDM card on UFC 315, and I had him in my parlay, and he lost by Mike Malott. I'm kind of iffy about this guy, but I think Charles Radke is just with a good team. You know, he's with the GOAT Bilal Muhammad. He's with those guys over in Chicago, and I think he's gonna make the right improvements to just kind of move past that opposition that he's kind of lost to. Like, he's lost to Carlos Prates and he's lost to Mike Malott. Those are some pretty good fighters and some pretty good names to have on your resume, even if they are losses. So when it comes to that, I feel like Radke just has the higher ceiling when it comes to his career, and I'm going to side with Charles Radke to actually win by submission in the first round against Francisco Prado. He's going to have a longer reach. I think he's just going to be flicking the jab out and then work into those takedowns as he kind of pressures and beats up Prado. And that's just all she wrote, to be quite real. So the lines do have it as a Charles Radke being a minus 185, while Francisco Prado is a plus 154. So pretty good odds. I mean, overall, the over 1.5 is a minus 215, while the under 1.5 is a plus 165. Maybe side with the under 1.5. You know, if you're feeling this might be a quick one, which it could be with Charles Radke and just how much improvements he's made in his last fight, we could see an early finish. So I got Charles Radke to get a first round submission over Francisco Prado. Moving on. So the fridge, Kevin Gastelum versus Vicente Luque. Man, Vicente Luque is not looking good. He's coming off a loss against Joel Alvarez, where he just absolutely got demolished. It should have been stopped, honestly. They let it go on for way too long. It was very hard to watch. I think Joel Alvarez ended up winning like a 30-26 decision just because he 10-8 Vicente Luque, I think, in the first or second round. Kevin Gastelum, on the other hand, coming off a win in his last outing, winning, I think, via decision, I believe, a 29-28 decision. But Kevin he's all right. You know, I think I know he switched camps, so that's kind of a better look for him, I think, just because the dude has missed weight so many damn times. The dude just can't stop eating, man. Like, no matter what happens, the dude will still miss weight. I think his last fight he missed by 6 pounds or some crap. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. But for Kevin, I think he is gonna have the better striking, and I think he's gonna have the better chin. That's a big thing too. Vicente Luque has, it seems like, a very degraded chin, and doesn't really have any type of factor to him that would influence me to pick him. So I'm gonna go with Kevin Gastelum to win a very easy decision, maybe a 30-27, most likely, or maybe a 29-28 if Vicente Luque can maybe get some control time over him. But I think overall this would be a pretty easy win for Kelvin Gastelum, possibly even a KO. But I think decision's more likely for Kelvin. I think I've been saying Kevin the whole time. It's actually Kelvin. My bad. But I got Kelvin Gastelum to win this over Vicente Luque via decision, and the odds have it as Gastelum is a minus 250 and Vicente Luque is a plus 205. So completely reasonable odds, honestly. But yeah, I got Gastelum to win this via decision. Next up, Chris Padilla versus Miguel Medeiros. Chris Padilla is a pretty good fighter. I've seen this guy fight like once, and he's pretty solid. I don't honestly know much about him other than that, and it's like a glimpse of memory of when I saw this guy fight, but this should be a pretty solid fight overall. I know I'm not really speaking of it too highly, but I'm just going to pick Chris Padilla. I think he's going to win via decision. I think he's just the better fighter against Medeiros, and I think he's just overall better striker. So there you have it. I mean, I've seen this guy fight once, and that's basically what I'm going off of. So Chris Padilla to win via decision over Medeiros, probably like a 29-28. I think he might shave off a round from him. But yeah, odds have it as a Chris Padilla a minus 180, while Medeiros is a plus 150. Pretty close odds overall. He's kind of a close to a 2-1 favorite. I'd probably just fade this one overall just because I really can't give you a good solid reason to pick either one of these guys. Maybe just enjoy this one. Or maybe do like a significant strikes bet or something. But official pick, Padilla via decision. Oh boy. Oh boy. I can't wait for this one. I am so excited. I am so excited. Tatiana Suarez versus Lupi Godinez. I've said that name before, but I don't know why I struggled so hard with that. I think Lupi Godinez will be a tough fight for Suarez, but if I got to keep it real, I think Suarez has such better grappling, such better wrestling, better pressure. I think it's just going to be a one-sided control fest where Suarez just kind of cruises her way to a decision, not really facing any adversity, maybe some type of, scramble from Godinez. But I think overall this is going to be a pretty easy fight for Suarez. Honestly, though, I think on the feet, Godinez might land some better strikes, but overall, I think Suarez just has this physicality advantage, height advantage. I don't think she's going to be really threatened by it and win a pretty easy 30-27 decision over Godinez. She might even find a submission, but I won't prop her up that much just because she's married to Patchy Mix. So I will not give her too many flowers. I don't even remember the last win she had, if I'm keeping real. I know she fought Zhang Wei Li, which, she lost against, but, not a bad loss. I thought that was the last time she fought, but I guess she is coming off a win, so is Godinez. So whatever. Moving on. I know you guys are really excited for that one, so looking forward to that one. The odds. My bad. I got too excited and I almost just skipped over them. Suarez as a minus 155 and Lupi Godinez as a plus 130. Honestly, some pretty dead even odds. Don't bet on this one whatsoever. The over 2.5 is a minus 425, while the under 2.5 is a plus 300. If you want to put something on that, I mean, put like $10 or something, so you win $30. But honestly, I would not side with any one of these and kind of just leave it up to what you want to do. Maybe just a good time to use the bathroom. Moving on, Mateus Gamrot versus Esteban Ribovics. Now we get into the good shit. All right, this is some really good shit. This is some really good stuff. This is gonna be a great fight. Mateus Gamrot, coming off a loss against Charles Oliveira. Honestly, no shame in that whatsoever. Charles Oliveira has shown that he is that guy. He is super good, super just strong, and is one of the best lightweights right now. So Esteban Ribovics, on the other hand, coming off a win against, I believe it was Elvis Brenner, where I think he won a 30-27, I believe. So Gamrot is primarily a wrestler. He has really good entries, and really good control on the ground. While Esteban Ribovics, on the other hand, he wants to stay on the feet and just box. He has really good boxing. He has really good kicks. He can whip that up really quick, and he has a knockout win against Terrence McKinney with that head kick that he set up. Really excellent prospect, only 29 years old. I'm really high on Ribovics, if you can't tell. And this is a big step in competition, though. This is kind of scary because Gamrot is no slouch. I think one of the most prevalent wins you can look at when you're looking at trying to break down this fight is when against Ludovic Klein. I thought Ludovic Klein was going to have the answers to beat Gamrot with that stellar takedown defense that Klein had going into that fight, but then got controlled by Gamrot for 3 rounds. So absolutely wrong on my part. I lost money from that if I'm keeping it real. So that's the issue I think I have with this fight. Obviously, I want Rubovics to win tremendously, but I think Gamrot's pressure in wrestling will be too much. But I know I've said what I've said. I would like to believe that Rubovics has used this time in the UFC and also just his UFC debut where he actually lost because he just got taken down and just controlled. Like, I think he got taken down 11 times in his UFC debut. We've seen him have good, maybe not takedown defense, but good, just good skills to like stand back up. You know, if he gets taken down, he can fight the hands, switch, get back up, and then keep it standing. I think I know as long as this fight stays on the feet, Gamrot is screwed. I think he is completely screwed against Rubovics. I think even though Gamrot is kind of dissed upon by his striking and, you know, basically just only focused on the wrestling, I think overall Rubovics will absolutely tag up Gamrot and pressure him. And honestly, I'm picking Rubovics to win this fight via TKO against Gamrot in the 2nd round. I think he's going to set up his boxing and then set up that head kick, and he's actually going to knock out Gamrot. Where it's like maybe Gamrot gets rocked pretty bad, and then Rubovics lets him stand up and then gets a finish, or he just follows him down and ground and pounds strikes Gamrot out. I think that's what's going to happen. Here's my full prediction. 1st round, Gamrot is going to get a takedown kind of like mid-round, you know, get control time. The round's kind of a swing round where it's like control time over damage from Rubovics. And then at the start of the 2nd round, Rubovics is going to stuff the takedown or get back up and then TKO Gamrot early 2nd round. That's my full prediction. Will I be right? I hope so, because like I said, I do like Rubovics, and he's a very entertaining and interesting prospect to look out for. But like I've said, this is a very tough fight for him, and one that you're definitely going to want to pay attention to and also be very cautious with. So Esteban Rubovics is a plus 150 underdog, while Gamrot is a minus 180. I'm going to pick Rubovics to win via TKO. This could go to decision, where it could be like a split decision, where it just kind of comes down to control time and damage. But I am going to pick Rubovics via TKO. Kind of a long shot, but then again, I think he can get this done. I really do. I don't think Gamrot is actually all cracked up as people make him out to be. So, and then he's going to get into the top 10, honestly, for Rubovics. But like I said, big step up, so we'll have to wait and see. But official pick, Rubovics via TKO in the 2nd round. Moving on. Really good fight as well. Randy Brown versus Kevin Holland. JDM's sons, actually. They're both coming off losses, where Kevin Holland's, man, tough loss against D-Rod. I don't know what he was doing in that fight, but he really just kind of showed up in not fight ready, to be quite real. I think he just kind of showed up into that fight thinking it was going to be an easy win. But D-Rod proved to be really awkward to fight with and someone who he just really struggled with. Randy Brown, on the other hand, coming off a loss against Bon Phim in a main event slot. I think it was the 2nd round. I could be wrong. Could have been in the 1st round. But Randy Brown, you know, kind of an awkward striker, very rangy, kind of just throws like a lot of shots, you know, jab and then looping shot. While Kevin Holland, on the other hand, is kind of more of a... He uses his range a little bit better, I think, I would say, compared to like Randy Brown. In this fight, they have exact same height. Holland has a slight longer reach than him. And if I'm keeping it real, even though Kevin Holland's kind of on a skid right now, where I think he's lost 2 fights back-to-back. He lost against Mike Malott via like nut shots, basically. I kind of forgot about that he lost against Mike Malott. Even though he's kind of on a skid, and he hasn't looked that good. I am going to side with Kevin Holland just because I think the range is going to kind of cancel out for one another. And I think Holland's chin is still really good. Even though he got dropped by D-Rod pretty badly in the second round, he recovered pretty quick. You know, he came back, he did what he did. He did what he needed to do, even though it wasn't enough at the end of the day. Dropped D-Rod in the third round. I think Kevin Holland's power is underrated. I'm going to keep it real. Randy Brown has zero chin. And I think when it comes down to it, Randy Brown's going to eat those straight shots that Kevin Holland's going to throw out. And, you know, like I said, he's better with his range. And I think Kevin Holland's going to KO Randy Brown. I think it's going to be maybe a third round KO, but it could also, you know, I'll just go third round KO from Kevin Holland. I won't talk about this one any longer. I don't want to make this video too long, but my official pick is going to be Kevin Holland. I think he's going to get this one done via KO. He is actually a slight underdog currently at a plus 102, while Randy Brown is a minus 122. I think Holland's got this all day, man. I think people are doubting him, and I think it's easy to right now. So I am gonna pick him to win this fight via KO. Either way how this plays out, JDM's resume gets boosted. So it's a win-win for me. Moving on to Patricio Pitbull, or Patricio Chihuahua, some of us like to say, versus Aaron Pico. I actually like this fight quite a bit. I know people kind of hated on it just because it's two former Bellator fighters kind of coming head-to-head, but it's a fight that Bellator never got to see, so it's kind of interesting. Pitbull, the older fighter, I think he's 37, 36, I believe. While Aaron Pico, he's only 29. He's very young. But, dude, I'll get into odds in just a second. But Aaron Pico, one of the most overrated fighters I have ever seen in my lifetime. People glaze him so heavily, it's insane. He got absolutely spinning elbowed out cold by Lerone Murphy, which I picked Lerone Murphy to win. Even though Lerone Murphy was the underdog in that fight. Absolutely insane. It was Pico's debut. Pico is a glass cannon. Like, he gets chinned by anybody who's good. Who's good or great in MMA. And we've seen Pitbull. I know he hasn't looked that good in, his recent fights. He got a win against Dan Ige. Good fight. Kind of just was more favorable to win that one than his debut fight against Yair Rodriguez, who's, very good with the kicks, very rangy, tough guy to kind of close the gap in. But we've seen Pitbull, man, in Bellator, 2-division champion, all these wins, even though he's the older fighter by quite a considerable amount. And the shorter guy, Aaron Pico, he is going to walk you down and try to get a finish. That is just how he operates. I don't think he knows any other way. And we've seen with Pitbull, I see someone like Michael Chandler, who I compare, very similar to Aaron Pico, where it's kind of this walk you down, not too much technique, and has good wrestling, has good striking, but just leaves so much open. I think someone like Pitbull is going to capitalize against that, similar to what Lerone Murphy did. Maybe not set it up as excellent as someone like that, but I think is going to find a TKO against Aaron Pico. If not that, I think he's going to craft himself up to a decision. Man, this one is tough to pick just because these are just two different spectrums of their fighting careers. I don't know, Pitbull's never going to see a belt again. Aaron Pico just wants to get a win. He's young. He has a long time in the sport. And he's just overrated to the full extent, and these odds show that. Aaron Pico is a minus 340, while Pitbull is a plus 270. That's insane. Those are insane odds. If you want to play it safe, the over 1.5 is a minus 188. I would maybe even side with that. But if you want to kind of keep it, grounded and honestly keeping it real, Pitbull is going to win this one. I believe that Pitbull is going to win this one, even though the odds have it, 3-1 favorite. I'm siding with Pitbull just to have the better experience, better control, better just posture overall. And Aaron Pico to just swing wild and only beat someone who was like a can. And I think Pitbull is not a can, even though I don't think highly of him. At this point in his career, I still think he's going to win this fight. Via, I don't know, via KO. Let's just keep it. Like, let's just say KO. I think Pico is just a definition of a glass cannon. So, official pick, Pitbull via KO as a minus or as a plus 270. I bet the KO is like a plus like 400 or some shit. So, I would put some money on Pitbull for sure. Moving on to the main card, we got Cub Swanson versus Nate Landwehr opening it up. Great fight. This is going to be really, really exciting to open up this card. Both kind of just like brawlers. Nate Landwehr, just, you know, kind of a cockroach. I guess if you can't put him away early, then I think he's going to come back and just kind of wield you in pressure. And I'm honestly kind of worried for Cub Swanson this one. This is going to be his retirement fight. The dude's 42 years old. Might be Landwehr's retirement fight as well. I'm not actually too sure. They might both retire in the same night. This is going to be a tough fight for Swanson. And I'm a little worried from this one. I think he has really good power still, even in his like older age. So I think he does have the potential to put out Landwehr. But I kind of see Landwehr pressing him and getting a KO in like the second or third round. I don't know though. Like flip a coin on this one and pick who you want. Oh man. But this is Cub Swanson's retirement fight. I feel like he's gonna really go out there and show what's up in a big crowd. Like this is a big arena, big opportunity. You know what? I'm picking Cub. I'm just gonna pick him. Even though I am completely on the fence with this one, I am gonna pick Cub Swanson to find a KO in the first round. Maybe early second round, but I think you're just gonna see two people just collide like almost immediately. I think they're just gonna open up this card with a big, blast and just go head to head and see whose chin just breaks first. And it's gonna be a cool fight. It's gonna be a fun fight while it lasts. But I am gonna pick Cub Swanson as a slight underdog. Once again, plus 102, while Nate Landwehr is a minus 122. So, like I said, pretty tough fight to pick overall. The under 2.5 is actually a plus 100. Man, I would side with that all day of the week. Plus 100, under 2.5. For sure go for that one. But yeah, official pick's going to be Cub Swanson via KO. Yeah, I think this one's going to be pretty quick. So, but yeah, then again, just go the under 2.5. I think it's a really safe bet. Dominic Reyes versus Johnny Walker. This is another great fight. Dominic Reyes coming off a loss against Carlos Prates, or not Carlos Prates, my bad, Carlos Ulberg, which, not a bad loss. Didn't really look that good in that fight. Kind of just like was stunted by just the technique of Ulberg. While Johnny Walker, on the other hand, coming off a win against Zhang Mingyang in like a main event where like no one thought Walker was gonna win, and all of a sudden he just like flukes a KO based upon like leg kicks pretty much. Very odd win for Johnny Walker. He has a reach advantage actually. This is a very tough fight to pick as well. Both of them have, let's be real, a very weak chin, and we're gonna see somebody just lay flat on the canvas just randomly in this fight, and you're gonna be like, holy shit, what just happened? Because it's gonna be just like a I don't know, someone closes the distance and just like bink right across the chin and just flat right on the canvas. I think that's what's gonna happen. And with that said, someone who has the athleticism and just like the counter strikes that could, make this happen is Dominic Reyes. I think Johnny Walker is a very wild striker and doesn't really have much technique to offer Dominic Reyes. And I think in that scenario, Dominic Reyes is going to make him pay and just put Johnny Walker out cold as Johnny Walker just kind of wildly exchanges with him. And I think it's going to be a really quick fight, under 1.5 easily. as Dominic Reyes is a minus 135 and Johnny Walker is a plus 114. Honestly, the over 1.5 is a plus 175. You could maybe side with that, but damn, you're gonna be clenched up watching this fight. That's for damn sure. But I am gonna pick Dominic Reyes to win this fight via KO in the first round. Honestly, this is gonna be a pretty stacked card. I think it's gonna be a really good card of KOs. But yeah, official pick to me, Dominic Reyes via KO. Johnny Walker's just a little bit more like too wild. I just don't think he's gonna have. I think he's just gonna get. He's gonna get punished for having such a wild style. So yeah, Reyes is gonna get this one done. Next up, Curtis Blades versus Josh Hockett as the featured fight of the main card. This is a pretty good fight, even though this is a huge step up for Josh Hockett. This is a pretty big, just like spotlight for him. Especially if he gets this win, he could have a big moment where like on the mic. And Curtis Blades is kind of just like defending his just, I guess, like reputation in this case. You know, he's I think he's a top 5 heavyweight, I believe. And if Josh Hockett goes out there and just like kind of bulldozes Blades, it's gonna be a bad look. But I do think Blades is the better striker between the two, because I think that's what's going to come down. That's what's going to come down to in this fight. Hockett does have the wrestling, but so does Blades, and I think as long as they can kind of like just cancel out each other, I think when it's stuck on the feet, Blades is going to have more success, piece up Hockett, and kind of just cruise himself to possibly a KO. But honestly, I think more likely this is going to be like a 30-27 for Curtis Blades. Where he just batters the face of Hockett, but Hockett stays tough and manages to make it to the final bell. So, official pick, and obviously, like Denzel Freeman is not a good win for you. He looked like trash against Hockett, and the people that Curtis Blades has fought, you know, just much higher level competition. It's just easier to side with him, you know. It's just he has had the experience shown that he is a top heavyweight. So, official pick going to be Curtis Blades via decision over Josh Hockett. He's a minus 135, while Hockett is a plus 114. But yeah, official pick, Blades, decision. Moving on to the co-main event. We lost Joshua Van versus Taisura Taira. Unfortunately, would have loved to see that one actually. But instead, we got Azamat Murzakanov versus Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa making his UFC light heavyweight debut in this fight against the professional, the school teacher, the professor, Azamat Murzakanov. He's undefeated in the UFC and in his MMA career. He's kind of like a short, stocky, light heavyweight that kind of like blitzes in the range and has looked really good, honestly. You know, he beat, I think Dustin Jacoby is one of the like, he's like kind of like the dark horse of the division where it's like you just, if you get past him, then you'll have success. But if you don't, there's no shame in that, man. But he was able to beat him. I think he broke his hand in that fight. Last fight, he stopped Alexander Rakic, which Rakic just looks like shit nowadays. I did pick Rakic to win that fight. Boy, did I feel like a jackass for picking him. Azamat, man, he's just fast on the feet. He's light on the feet. He'll dart into range and just clip you. I don't think he has like some like crazy sting power. And neither does Paulo Costa, if I'm keeping it real. I think moving up will be beneficial for him because, you know, he won't have to drain as much weight. He'll have a better gas tank. But I think overall, but when you do look at these two guys and like what they can bring to a fight and like when you break it down like their power, I don't think Costa has that great of power. Honestly, I don't know who Costa has ever KO'd. Like, I can't think of the last KO he's had. I know he's coming off a win against Kopylov, which, honestly, man, Kopylov has looked like crap. I think we severely overrated him going into that fight. I think Azamat is going to land the more significant strikes where it's like it has a little bit more steam on it than Paulo Costa. I think Paulo Costa could have a lot of success with like the kicks, you know, kind of break down the arm of Azamat. Maybe go to the body as well. And I think he could kind of have some success where it's like it's competitive in some moments, but I think overall I'm going to side with Azamat Mirzakhanov to win this fight via decision, a 29-28. Paulo Costa has a pretty good chin. I think he's going to be safe in this one, but I think Mirzakhanov is just going to land the more impactful strikes throughout the fight. So official pick is going to be Azamat to win this fight via decision. He is a minus 198 favorite, while Paulo Costa was a plus 164. So honestly, pretty good odds. If you're siding with Costa, I don't blame you. It's a good underdog pick, but overall, I got Mirzakhanov. Moving on to the main event of the evening. I am so hyped for this one. Jiri Prochazka versus Carlos Ulberg is going to be fireworks. You see my profile on my YouTube channel. Jiri Prochazka is one of my favorite fighters, probably second favorite fighter right now. He is phenomenal. He's super chaotic. He's super entertaining. He has a crazy finish streak, or finish rate. He only has one decision out of his 37 fights or 38 fights. It's absolutely insane. He's more technical than you kind of look at him for. Like, you kind of look at him like as a wild exchanger where he's just like throwing everything at you, but there's actually some technique going on in there. While Carlos Ulberg, on the other hand, a very technical kickboxer who likes to just kind of fight at range, break you down at your base as you blitz in, punish you with the check left hook. That's like his favorite thing ever. Carlos Ulberg, on a really good win streak. I think he's on like a 5 or 6 fight win streak, maybe even more. I know he just knocked out Dominic Reyes in a main event slot. So pretty good wins from Carlos Ulberg. Beat Jan Blachowicz via decision, which honestly was very, very close, and I could see it going to Jan. While Yuri, on the other hand, has just finished everybody. Finished Khalil Roundtree being down 2 rounds. Finished Jamal Hill in a very impressive manner. Improved head movement. Improved just like, I feel like striking accuracy in that fight. And then before that, has only lost to Alex Pereira twice, actually. I don't know, man. This is a scary fight for Jiri just because Ulberg is that good technical kickboxer. Alex Pereira is a very excellent kickboxer and has crazy power. I think if they run back a fight against Jiri versus Alex, I think it would go a little bit differently. I think Jiri would have a lot of success, more success than he had, especially in the second fight. I think his second fight was just an off Jiri. He really did evolve from that fight, from that loss. But the first fight, he did have some success. And I think if you run that back for a third fight, I could see Jiri having what it takes to beat someone like Alex. And when I look at Carlos Ulberg, I am worried because he does have really solid power, good countering. Like, as Jiri just blitzes into range, he's going to try to counter him and try to put him out of there. But I do think if you don't have the same knockout power as someone like Alex Pereira, who we know Carlos Ulberg does not. Is it close to it? It could be, but when it really comes down to it, Jiri is such a wild and unorthodox fighter and will throw everything at you. The amount of versatility he has in his strikes is just insane. And I think for Carlos Ulberg, he trains with a lot of city kickboxing guys. I think you just cannot get away from that. I think you just cannot be prepared enough for someone who is just as wild as Jiri. And we've seen, I think in his last 2 fights, Jiri has leveled up his game tremendously with much greater feints. I think Ulberg's going to bite on those immediately. And Jiri is going to find a KO very early in this fight in the second round. I think he's going to put Carlos Ulberg out quick. And I think this one's pretty plain and simple, but I am worried, obviously, just because, like we've seen from Ulberg, he's a pretty good striker, and he has that similarities to someone like Alex Pereira. So it is a little worrying. But I will pick Jiri Prochazka to win this fight. via decision. I'm kidding, not decision. Dude, if this goes to decision, that'd be no one would have expected that. No one. And if you said you did, screw you. But I got Jiri Prochazka to win this fight via TKO in the second round. I think it's going to be a quick night for him, and he'll become the new light heavyweight champion of the world. And we will be celebrating. We will win a ton of money from Jiri Prochazka winning because the odds are actually pretty damn close. Jiri is a minus 120 favorite, while Carlos Ulberg's a plus 100. Very close odds, obviously. It's a very close fight if we're keeping it real. Yeah. So under 2.5 is actually a minus 125, while the over 2.5 is a minus 105. I would go the under, honestly, but I'd also just be safe with going money line for whoever you think is going to win. I got Jiri via just autism maxing and giving no respect to Ulberg. So final official pick, Prochazka via KO in the second round. Let's go for that. I am super hyped for this card, man. This is going to be a phenomenal card, I think. I think we're going to see a lot of finishes. I only predicted like what? A few decisions, but most of them are going to be finishes. I think it's going to be a quick night for a lot of guys. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be sick. But yeah, that's my official picks for UFC 327. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.